On tonight's special 60 Minutes, we have an exclusive interview with President Theodore Roosevelt. Good evening, Mr. President.
How you doing today, sir?
Very good. So, Mr. President, I hear you have read Upton Sinclair's new book, The Jungle.
Yes, it seemed everyone in this great nation was so interested in the novel. I had to read it for myself.
And did you like it?
Oh yes, I understand why it was such a phenomenon now. Upton Sinclair is a brilliant author, and the issues he talked about are very modern. I think he really hit America in the heart.
Well, some are saying it hit America in the stomach. How did you feel about Upton Sinclair's description of the meatpacking industry?
Well, I think I speak for the population as a whole when I say I'm deeply concerned. That is why I launched an investigation, as authors often have the tendency to exaggerate.
And was it to your belief that Sinclair was exaggerating?
No, I found that he was rather dead on. When I took office, I promised the people a square deal, which included more control on corporations, conserving our nation's resources, and finally protecting the consumer. So I passed the Meat Inspection Act and the Pure Food and Drugs Act to protect the consumer.
You said controlling corporations was part of your square deal. How have you controlled corporations?
Well, lately they've been calling me Teddy Trustbuster. But I am not out to get every corporation. Actually, my mission is quite the opposite. I want to see American business thrive. And the only way to do this is by making competition fair for all businesses. That is why I regulated railroads and trusts.
We all know how big of an outdoorsman you are, Mr. President. How has that influenced the third part of your square deal?
Well, having asthma as a young child, I had to be homeschooled, and I read many books about wildlife, and later majored in biology at Harvard University. It is my belief that there are few things that set this great country apart from the others. Our commitment to democracy, our never-say-die attitude, and our beautiful wildlife. That is why I will do everything I can to preserve our natural resources, so that future generations and Americans today can enjoy it.
Finally, the question everyone has been waiting to hear. Will you be running for a third term?
I came into office as the youngest president ever, but you can see by my gray hairs, the presidential responsibility has put years on me. So no, I think my time is up, but I will still stay politically active after 1909.
Thank you for your time, Mr. President.
My pleasure.
He is here today to discuss his life as a writer and an artist. Let's give it up for Mr. Nast.
Thank you. Hold your applause.
It's a great honor to have you here with us today, Mr. Nast.
Please, call me Thomas. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Well, Thomas, explain to me what you do.
Well, I do a lot of things, but I like to consider myself as an illustrator, even though I'm technically a political cartoonist for Harper's Weekly.
Well, that isn't just a job for anybody. It was told to me that you started at a very young age. How old were you exactly when you started?
Well, I started at about the age of 15. I was hired as a reportorial artist for Frank Leslie's illustrated newspaper. Then, by the summer of about 1862, I began working for Harper's Weekly, which is the job I do today.
Sounds like a very nice job for a young man like yourself. Now tell me, what was your most well-known cartoon?
My most well-known cartoon, I have so many. Sorry. I'd have to say my most well-known piece of art was the creation of the political symbol of the Republican Party.
You mean the elephant?
Yes, sir, I do. Man, I created that elephant. I also was responsible for the creation of the modern-day Santa Claus.
Oh, how wonderful. Now, I understood that you drew during the Civil War. How was that?
Well, during the war, I drew a lot. I drew a lot about the South and their barbaric ways, because the South was truly to blame for the Civil War. I mean, come on. I hated the South for that, and always been pro-Union. There's so many innocent people killed in that war, and they didn't need it at all.
I see. The war was basically fought over slavery. What is your opinion of that?
I'd have to say slavery's not one of my most valuable things in life. I mean, I don't like slavery at all. It was crucial for the South when they succeeded. But we all need slavery, right? but I still don't like it. I think they should have their own rights. They are people, aren't they? I mean, come on.
Sounds like you were very strongly against that. And we have seen this through your drawings. It is also said that you played a big role in the election of Lincoln. Why is this?
Excuse me, sorry. Parched. Well, for one, my drawings and Lincoln's beliefs were pretty similar, if I must say so myself. So, we had the same viewpoints on basically everything, I mean a lot. So, I decided it was a good idea to help out Lincoln when election time came along, because even though he probably didn't need as much help, but I knew I could help him with my influential writing. I mean, everybody reads my newspaper, so I had to do what I gotta do.
And I'm sure he's very grateful for that. Well, for our last question, it is commonly believed that you changed your political cartoons as we know it today. How do you feel about this?
Hear that? I've heard that a few times. It's such an honorable title to hold. And for future writers, I feel like they should follow in my footsteps and continue to change the world as we know it, because let's face it, everybody reads the newspaper and it's so influential. I mean, without newspapers, we wouldn't know what's happening in the world, and our writing is just a main part of that. So, I must say, it's honorable.
Well, that concludes our interview for today. Thank you, Mr. Nance, for coming. It was an honor.
Anytime. It was a pleasure.
Chicago is a city like no other, hosting the World Series for baseball in 1906 with a crosstown matchup of the Cubs versus the White Sox. The bustling city has nowhere to go other than up. But at what cost? We speak to Alan Mason, a local laborer who works for a packing house in Chicago, about these situations.
Can you please explain to me what you do for a living?
Surely, my job is to transport large hunks of raw beef to the canning district of the packing house.
Use more details. Can you tell us about the conditions you work in?
Well, before we got refrigeration in the plant, during the summer, the workhouse would be boiling hot. Rats would be running around, and I would find waste products of several animals left on the raw meat. It was basically tarnished. It's not safe in there, to be honest. I'm surprised I'm still working here. The pay and hours are long and cheap.
Have things changed since you got refrigeration?
Oh, heavens no. I still find the place to be atrocious. Rats all over, bugs running around. The meat's horrible. Surprised people eat it. Nothing has or ever will change. They're making way too much money to do anything about it.
Have you ever tried to report this before, or tried to inform your union about these working conditions?
Hell, the union's owned by the freaking business. Nothing's gonna change. Nothing's gonna happen. We have, but everything has failed. There's no hope. The government's not gonna help. Business probably owns the government.
Sorry to hear that. Hopefully this report will reach someone who may help you and your farmers.
I hope so. In Chicago, it is obvious that laborers need help, and that the mass-made products are not safe for the time being. Big business is not the only ones to blame for this horrible condition of their employees and products, however. The government should have stepped in a long time ago to fix these horrors which we have viewed. Both the products and the employees are not safe. It is evident that without help from their local or federal government, that the heads of these businesses will continue to be corrupt yet successful, at the cost and safety of the laborers and their consumers.
On this 60 Minutes, a new issue in politics. With the industry growing all over the country, especially in the Northeast, what does that mean for our environment? And is the consumer really getting quality products? What is in our food? Walking in New York today, I realized how much smog was in the air. Living in the city for my whole life, I never realized the amount of pollution. Why did I never notice? It seems like I got used to the smog filling my lungs, and I thought, it can't be healthy getting used to this air quality. And what is it doing to the air quality all around the world and in our country, with the jet streams going all over? What's happening to our animals, our wildlife, all over? New scientific studies show it is really unhealthy to be in the swamp for long periods of times, and that jet streams can carry it from place to place. But where's the smog coming from? Huge skyscrapers with large chimneys and gray clouds coming out from them. I had to go inside to find out what was really happening. I found out that cow and pig meat were thrown together to make salami. Blood was never cleaned out from the animals. Everything, including the workers, was unsanitary, much like Upton Sinclair described in his book, The Jungle. The question is now, what will the government do to protect the consumer and the environment, and our lungs and wallets?